Okay, well, hello everyone. Welcome to the meeting. And basically, this meeting is an overview and Q&A as well as an info session for some research programs and some really prestigious summer programs that are coming up. And so before we get into that, and before we introduce our guests, I want to go over, the co-hosts of this meeting, Haddee Education and Apply 7 by Dr. Funkan. So just to go over the company, Haddee is a wonderful education company and they offer amazing services such as AT, SAT, and just like overall subject tutoring as well as college counseling. So yeah, not only are their tutors and teachers like absolutely exceptional as one of their students, but they also not only allow their students to, boost their academic potential, but they also really inspire the students and provide a motivating environment for them to learn. And next, we have our other co-founder, which is Dr. Peng Kai, which is the co-founder of the AI Apply platform. So, Dr. Peng Kai, would you like to give a little introduction?
Sure. Actually, the company is co-founded by me and Dan together, but we see the
Mhm.
potential of the AI, particularly, AI can help people to do much better search and matching in the college application process, and also can, like a co-pilot with the student to increase their potential. So that's we invest efforts and money and lots of resources into the new platform. And the platform is still in the beta stage. But meanwhile, we want to invite some of the best professors in the world to help us to enhance the curriculum and the courses. That's why I invite the Dr. Zhang to set up the spring research session. And my daughter attended the session 2 years ago. Turns out it's extremely helpful for her. And this year she was accepted by Harvard, MIT, and Princeton because she learned to think like a scientist. So I also want to share this opportunity to the young students, like as junior and senior students in college school, even some like freshmen in colleges. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Yeah, thank you so much for the introduction. And yeah,
hmm
basically, just to sum it all up, the platform basically helps find like ideal schools and programs for those students who are either applying for college or they're interested. So yeah, it's a really useful tool for students to have and parents. Okay, and before we get into the meeting, one last thing is right now for Haddee Education, one of the tutors and teachers, Miss Pont, who has been a veteran tutor at Haddee Education, is providing a writing class. Basically, it's titled the Writing for Competitions, the Harvard International Review class, which provides an excellent curriculum for those students who are maybe like pursuing, writing or they're interested in entering writing competitions. So that is a huge boost and advantage. So yeah, I will send the link later into the chat if for anyone who's interested, whether you're a parent or a student. But yeah, okay. So that is all for the introduction for the co-founders. And now let's get into the overall info session for the summer programs. And yeah. Okay, so we'll start with a basic introduction to our guests. So we have some lovely guests who are attending with us today. So first of all, we have Professor Jang from MIT. Yeah, and then yeah, hello. And we also have Professor Malkin from Duke University. Yeah, and then we also have Professor Du from Bradley University. And last but not least, we have Mr. Morrow from UCSD, and they're all wonderful professors from prestigious universities, and they're offering some prestigious summer programs and research opportunities as well for students. So yeah, let's get started with the basic introduction. So, Professor Jane, could you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah,
Professor.
Shu Guang, you muted.
Oh, sorry. So everybody understand English. Um, I received my undergrad in Sichuan University, China, 1980. Came to United States in 1980, and then learned English. I came here without English, and then went to UC Santa Barbara, California, to earn my PhD, and finished 1988. I came to MIT in 1988 in summer, and with American Cancer Society Fellowship, and I've been here ever since 1988. So now 36 years and counting. I do research. In earlier research is molecular biology and genetics, and later, by accident, I discovered a class self-assembling peptides that can make into new materials, and totally new. The patent filed, and company started, and so on and so forth. The company is now selling product and $80 million annually worldwide. So now I started to work on use AlphaFold 2, AlphaFold 3 for protein design, and especially membrane proteins, and then make them water soluble system. I invented a QTY code. MIT filed several patents again, and several companies had also been formed based on the QTY code. So now I use AlphaFold 2, AlphaFold 3 to do protein design and work in this area. So it's AI machine learning program launched by AlphaFold DeepMind. Those two people won a Nobel Prize in chemistry this year. So they are now in Stockholm getting the ceremony on Tuesday. So anyway, that's what my research is about. Okay, good.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, over the years, I worked with many high school students before, many. And a freshman, I've been at MIT teaching freshmen since 1994. Yeah, good. I advise a freshman too. I advise them for a career, how to go about, and through ask questions. Okay, all right, done.
Okay, thank you so much for the introduction. And next, Professor Malkin, could you introduce yourself, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Kate. My name is Bob Melkin. I'm a professor of the practice of biomedical engineering and global health at Duke University. Been at Duke for about 20 years now, and also working with high school students that entire time, and now working with Haddee Education to open up more spots for high school students interested in STEM research opportunities, both in the summer and longer term programming as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Malkin. And next, Professor Du, could you introduce yourself, please?
Okay, yeah, this is Tony Du. And as what Professor Zhang, I also graduated from Sichuan University, Chengdu. And
Wow.
after that, yes, after that, I came to the United States, graduated from Clemson University. And then I work in the industrial area in Qualcomm, Verizon for many years. And then I decided to go to the academic area. Now I'm teaching in Bradley University as an assistant professor. My research is about artificial intelligence, especially recently we have the LLM, large language model. I'm exploring the methods of using the LLM to predict the stock market right now. So I have some initial results. Hopefully, I can cooperate with all of you, and we can work together. Okay, that's all.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Du. And last but not least, Professor Morrow, could you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, everybody. Nice to see everyone and nice to meet all the esteemed colleagues here. My background is in electrical engineering. I worked at Qualcomm for a little over 20 years. This is where I met Dan and worked pretty closely with her over the years. One of the things that I found in working in Qualcomm, I had several different opportunities there and working in hardware and software systems development, was that it was difficult to find qualified engineers in both the hardware space and computer science space. And so part of what I wanted to do was to give back to the community, but also to get more students at the high school level interested to pursue these fields. And so I joined a local high school in San Diego called Canyon Crest Academy, and taught machine learning and circuit design, digital circuit design at the school for 10 years. And that's where I had then not only worked with Dan at Qualcomm, then I worked with her sons, both of her sons at Canyon Crest Academy, and taught them some of these subjects that I taught there. I started working at UCSD about 3 years ago. They were interested in a program to provide opportunities for high school students in advanced technology areas that were really kind of targeted to underserved communities that didn't have the opportunity to provide computer science applications and circuit design to their students. And so I developed a couple of series called in a program called Futures at UCSD, where I teach machine learning. It's a 3-course series there, and then also digital circuit design as well. And I'm currently developing 2 new series that are advanced or just adjacent to those 2 that I just mentioned in machine learning and circuit design, to look at more advanced techniques, specifically in the kind of the hot areas in natural language processing, and then as well in the circuit design, because I think they are very closely tied. Having a computer science person who is familiar with machine learning and AI, to have a good background in the underlying architectures of, say, a GPU, is pretty important. And so I'm also developing advanced courses in digital circuit design that work on computer architectures and GPU architectures. I worked with some folks from the local universities in San Diego to propose, and we subsequently won a grant to do more of this type of work, where we collaborate across high schools, community colleges, and the universities to provide computer science and circuit design courses. So that grant is actually in progress now, and we're looking for actually people at the high school level to work with us as interns to help us with that opportunity. And then finally, I'm working with Dan to provide some summer opportunities for students that we'll be doing at Cal Berkeley in the summertime. So for folks who want to engage in some of the machine learning and circuit design stuff that we have going there. All right, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you for your introduction. And then since we have a basic introduction of the background of these amazing professors, now we'll go more into the program and moreover like the bulk of this meeting. So we'll go over like a general information about the programs as well as the summer research opportunities. So now the question is, could you provide a basic overview of the different research or summer programs that are being offered, as well as the opportunities that they provide for students? So we'll start with Professor Jane. Oh, sorry, I think you're muted.
My research is to do protein design, membrane proteins. And I essentially use the latest tool, AlphaFold 2 and 3, and apply my invention QTY code to transform membrane protein that is that usually is water insoluble into water soluble form. And once become water soluble, it's very useful. So we have written papers together with several high school students and undergrad students and published. So usually when the published paper as high school students, then can get into very good universities. And if in published paper as undergrad, then can get to very good graduate schools. So publication is key for demonstrate you can not only learn, but also you can contribute. That is research is about. And so I will teach some basics and then tutor people how to learn to do original research and to ask questions, and then that eventually leads to discoveries. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Jang. And next, Professor Malkin.
Thank you, Kate. Yeah, we have several programs that we're offering. There's our faculty across all the areas of STEM. So that's engineering, mathematics, chemistry, physics, biology, including neuroscience, computer engineering, etc. We have several different programs to choose from in the summer and also broadly throughout the year. But in the summer, mostly the Introduction to Medical Case Studies. Introduction to Medical Case Studies is a program that's really focused for students that are interested in the health sciences. It's a short-term program, about 8 weeks long, where you really focus in on medical cases. It's the Introduction to Medical Case Studies. Culminates with a small grand rounds, except it's a small version, so like a micro grand rounds, I guess. A format that's very common in a medical environment. We also have the Introduction to Literature. That is more broad. It's similar to Introduction to Case Studies, but it focuses on literature review, question generation, and literature review. Those are the first two steps for anyone's research, is these two steps. That's also a great summer program, also 8 weeks long. That one culminates in a small conference that we set up for you, the high school student. If you are interested in longer programming, we do have programming that lasts anywhere from 9 months to 3 or 4 years for high school students that are interested in publishing peer-reviewed, archived, impact factor rated publications. In other words, competitive, let's say normal science publications. Those are great programs. Both you can take them independently, or you can do the introductory programs and then join the long-term programs after that. And just a reminder, we cover all the areas of STEM. So biology, physics, chemistry, mathematics, and engineering.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Malkin. And next, Professor Du.
Oh, okay. A moment ago, I just mentioned my background is from the computer science. Right now, with many open public large language model like the GPT, like the Llama was published, so we can leverage these new tools to do some more natural language processing NLP. So from this information, we can discover how much it impacts on the stock market. So that is a research area I'm working on. So I just roughly wrote a syllabus, and then I think about that one. So it will be not too difficult, especially for the high school students. I already designed some skeletons about it. So hopefully I can work with some students on that. So we do need some Python programming, learn some basic programming language. And also I will teach you how to do some research, how to collect data, how to process the data. So, and finally, we can have some writings, reports, or papers to be published. Yeah, that is what I'm thinking. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Du. And last but not least, Professor Morrow.
Okay. So Kate or Dan, is it possible to share my screen?
Oh, hi, Miss Dandin. I think you're muted.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Morrow. Here you go.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks. Okay, folks, I appreciate your time and I will be as quick as I can. All right, so what you should see here is a diagram that kind of shows what the machine learning portion of the summer program that we have at UC Berkeley in the July timeframe. So we're going to cover two basic areas. One is in machine learning, and then the other one is circuit design. So we're going to spend the mornings doing machine learning and the afternoons doing circuit design. So I have a couple diagrams in here. I won't go through them in all detail. There's lots of stuff to cover here, but basically we're going to cover three essential components in machine learning. The foundation, so we're expecting that students know some Python coming in. We're going to kind of kick off the program with introducing machine learning libraries, and then how do we apply those to different algorithms, and then finally get into deep neural networks where we're actually coding them from scratch, so you get a real good idea of how the algorithms work themselves. These are a breakdown of all of the material that's covered. Really, there's lots of stuff here. Again, I won't go into all the details of each one of these boxes, but you can see that we have fundamentals that are going to be covered very quickly, and then we'll get into the deep learning, machine learning libraries that will allow us to utilize vector processing for algorithms, including regression, classification, clustering algorithms, dimension reduction, and we'll analyze those algorithms. And then we'll jump into artificial neural networks. And again, we'll start with a from scratch implementation of the very basic perceptron model, and then go into a deep learning model where essentially it's a multi-layered perceptron that is coded from scratch. So everybody will get an idea of how the forward propagation or inference stage is done, how backward propagation is done, and how the training essentially is done in the with the algorithms. This is just more details of it. We're going to use a Jupyter Notebook application, so it'll be kind of very applicable to the college essential base that is used with the courses that you would take in these types of area. We'll use Google Colab because it's an easier notebook to use, and is all cloud-based, so it's not really dependent on a bunch of installations. But it's just as powerful and allows you to utilize the back-end processing units to do pretty complex coding algorithms. And then we'll spend a good amount of time looking at hardware. As I mentioned earlier, I think it's important to understand the architecture behind the hardware that's executing your algorithms, so that you can utilize the optimization techniques that are so prevalent in the companies like NVIDIA that are kind of skyrocketing at this point because of their advanced architectures that allow for paralleled operations to occur with these very complex algorithms that are used today. So we'll do some basic digital design. We'll use a FPGA emulator board, and we'll look at some pretty advanced architectures using hardware description languages, and a capstone project where we'll actually implement a kind of a fundamental neural network in hardware. And so that will be what we'll do in our camp. Thanks very much.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Morrow. Okay, and just one thing to know, while we're going over basic information about the programs, in the chat, there's links on research backgrounds of these programs and the professors, as well as additional details that that is like all linked in the chat, and we'll be sending out more links as well. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. So yeah, these are all amazing and prestigious programs. And next, the question is, are these programs available to students from all academic backgrounds, or are they more so specialized? So we'll start with Professor Jane.
I've been teaching use called biological material structure and then functions. And later, I changed again to called molecular design. And MIT has engineering student, physics, whatever, all go across the board, all subject and across campus. So my course does not require prior knowledge. For example, some architecture student from MIT, undergrad, and took my class without any background, not even knowing about amino acids. And in the end, after 12 weeks, then can now even design biological materials from scratch. So, and it's not quite an exact high school level. However, if the capable high school student can learn very quickly, because high school students even have some basic biology, chemistry, and physics already. So does not need an extensive background. Just most important thing is keen to learn something, not to educate, but to learn. Learning is much more important than education, and is self-motivated learning. That's what's most important. If I learn something, I learned everything myself, and after undergrad, come to MIT doing research, learning all different areas. People say, 兴趣是最好的老师. Yeah, the interest is the best teacher. So that's the only requirement, and dedication, and then that's also important. Yeah, good. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Jang. And next, Professor Malkin.
Yeah, thanks, Kate. So we have more than a dozen faculty across all the areas of STEM working with Haddee Education on this program. So all of high school students' potential backgrounds, that's biology, physics, chemistry, most likely courses that you would take in high school. Those are all excellent backgrounds for the programming that we have. But we have taken freshmen in the programming, so in the summer as well as in the school year. So there is no need to have more than a high school to be a current high school student to qualify for these programs.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Malkin. And next, Professor Du.
Oh, we can't hear you.
Oh,
Professor
sorry about that. I just in this program, we do need some programming skills, especially Python. And then this is exactly a moment ago, Professor Morrow want to going to teach us, but we are independent. At the same time, we do need to give you some time to learn and set up your Python programming. And at the same time, I will teach you how to design the model, how to evaluate the model, how to process the data. And last, I'm going to teach you how to write an academic paper and how to for that. So using the LaTeX, that is the contents of the program. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Professor Du. And last but not least, Professor Morrow.
Okay, yeah, similar to what Professor Du, I think our programs are similar in the sense that we would like the students to come in with some basic Python experience so that we can cover the more advanced topics. Basic data structures in Python, know how object-oriented programming works is good. We have a small assessment that can be taken so that students will know if they're going to be ready for the program, because it's pretty fast paced. If they have some math background, that's good too. Statistics, a little bit of linear algebra, if you know what a vector and some matrix operations, how those are performed, what a dot product is, for example, that's good to know. Basic calculus is good. The derivative, you don't need to know what an integral is, but a derivative and how to take a derivative is a plus. Again, these are all the math stuff is things that I will go through very quickly in sort of a crash course on the first day. But I think as all the professors have said, as long as there is interest and students are have an interest in the material and are smart, they're going to pick this stuff up pretty quickly. And so I think we're going to be able to teach them some really interesting topics during this time. For my program, there's no expectation for hardware development. We're going to teach you everything you need to know there. But again, I think that having kind of that mix of software and hardware provides a little bit of a differentiation for students who want that as part of their portfolio. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Professor Morrow. And yeah, basically that was on the topic of some specific backgrounds for the students who are going to be eligible or more suited for these programs. And next, we'll dive more into student eligibility. So the question is, what are some specific eligibility criteria that are required for students who are interested in participating in these programs? So we'll start with Professor Jang.
And there's really no specific criteria. Most important is motivation to learn something new. That's most important. Have some background in biology and chemistry are very helpful. You can learn it quickly, but it's not necessary. I told you some architecture students, and after taking my class, and then can design biological stuff. Many of my students previously have no biology background at all. And so it's a motivation to learn. It's the most important, yeah. And some people quit in the middle and become too busy or not interested enough. It's fine too. But if people are not dedicated, they should not even start. Otherwise, it's waste my time, waste their own time. And so far, I have taught quite a few high school students, then publish papers, first author papers. So they have no background either. Yeah, just dedication to learn. And then self-learning. That's what all is required now. Okay, thank you.
So Professor Zhang, is the age requirement?
16 and up.
That's pretty hard requirement, right? 16 and up.
That's hard requirement. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Jang. And next, Professor Malkin.
Yeah, thanks. So for these Haddee Education programs, all high school students are eligible for the program. There's a short application with some basic English skills required, including an English language interview. For the longer programs, especially, then there'll be an academic interview, and then finally an interview with a potential faculty match. That is a faculty in one of the areas that I mentioned that would be a potential mentor for the students. If the students gets along with the faculty and the faculty wants the students, then they have a match and then get started. So the process is pretty straightforward.
Okay, thank you, Professor Malkin. And next, Professor Du.
Well, so this program, we don't require students too much background, but I will teach you how to do the programming. and from the beginning, from the scratch. Yes, as a moment ago, as what Professor Zhang says, if you are interested in this program, then please join it. Otherwise, it's wasting your time, it's wasting my time. So interesting is the most strongest motivation for doing that. Otherwise, it's will be a hard time. I think I will also require the students at least grade G9 or 16. At least you should know some basic how to do the sum, how to calculate the average, and so on. So very basic mathematical skills. No need high advanced like the projection because we are high school students. We are learning from it. Yeah, that is my requirements. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Professor Du. And Professor Morrow?
Yeah, thanks, Kate. So for the eligibility, what we're looking for is the incoming sophomore levels, incoming 10th graders. I think this is basically the same as what other people are saying, that's kind of that 16-year-old basic limit. It's really, as far as the technical capability, it's not so much that we're looking for a particular level. We want that students have some Python programming experience. As I mentioned, we'll go through a crash course of Python in the very beginning. So as long as you've had some programming experience, you'll pick it up very quickly. We do have an assessment that we want students to take just to see that, okay, they meet the minimum qualifications and their knowledge base in Python. And so we think that's going to be around the 10th grade level. In my experience, it's more the maturity level that is more important. And again, as the other professors have said, it's more of the stick-with-itness, I think, is what they're talking about, to make sure that the interest level is there and they're dedicated to the program. And if they're dedicated to the program and they really want to do this, they're going to be successful. And so that's really what we're looking for is students to be interested, have some basic Python, and we see that at about the 10th grade level.
All right, thank you, Professor Morrow. And speaking of student eligibility, the next question is, will the programs and the research opportunities be available to only domestic students, or will they also be available to international students? So we'll start with Professor Jang.
So whatever we're teaching, the goal, I believe, the students are interested in go to best universities. Is that correct? Otherwise, why you bother? Or for undergraduate students, you want to go to best colleges. The best way to do this is publish a first author or co-first author publications and learning, ask questions to start, ask questions. What is the research goal and what do you want to do and what particular area you want to pursue? And then find a subject. So I will provide a guidance for those. And once you stick to it, you have to be persistent. You run into difficulties, I'm sure. Like all the original research, you run into trouble. But if you quit, that's your problem. And if you don't quit, eventually you may able to produce original research manuscript. So that manuscript has a great potential for you to catapult to the best universities. And there's some example really. I'm sure, and admission, very competitive admission officers, then cannot differentiate who everybody is top 5% to 2% at MIT, and you mostly, I would say, 1 per million high school students has a first author publications that immediately jump them put it to the top. Otherwise, all from best high schools, they cannot tell which one is the best. They all have excellent recommendation letters. but have publications and differentiate them from everybody else. So that leads to ask good questions for doing original research. So that way, we help you to guide you to do that. Okay, good.
All right, thank you, Professor Jang and Professor Malkin.
Yeah, Kate, can you repeat the question for me, please?
Yeah, so basically, are these programs and opportunities available to only domestic students, or are they available to international students as well?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. So all of the programs that we're running with Haddee Education are remote, 100% remote programming. So they're equally available to students from all over the world. Doesn't matter where you are. Our faculty, all of our faculty are US and Canadian faculty from US and Canadian universities. However, the students can be anywhere in the world. There is no limit.
Okay, thank you, Professor Malkin. And next, Professor Du.
Well, first, we have to be clear. We have some very clear objective why we are doing this program. So from my program, I think the most important is we have some output. Output, not only the papers we are going to write, but also I will teach you how to do some basic research, how to look for some problems, how to solve the problem. And then, in fact, I wrote a lot of paper. However, after many years, I found writing a paper or doing research is not as what you thought has to be finished by some masters or PhDs. It's not as so difficult. Hopefully, I can give you the skills. That is the outcome. Yes, that's all.
All right, thank you, Professor Du and Professor Morrow.
Yeah, so the program that we have in the summer is on site at Cal in Berkeley. And so it is open to all students, however, it is an on-site program. And so yeah, so I think that's really the only potential constraint for students. It's not an online program at this point.
Okay. All right, thank you. And speaking of student eligibility and speaking more upon that, so the next question is, what are some student documentations or such as like GPA or letters of recs that are required for the application? And could you please dive more into detail about the application process in general? So we'll start with Professor Jang.
I think a GPA is not important. You can have a GPA 4.0, but you're not interested in learning something new. Your only thing learning is what your courses for high school to get a best SAT score and so on and so forth. Then I'm not interested in teaching those students either. So I want a student to be interested in something doing research. It's online research, interesting biologic problems, and use AI tool to solve them. That is criteria. No GPA is needed. By the way, my GPA was very poor, and I almost could not even stay in graduate school. The GPA requirement for graduate school is 3.0. My GPA far below that, but I kept persistent, ask good questions, and I eventually achieved much more than people who had a 4.0 GPA. Okay, because my English was so terrible, didn't understand exam questions. How can I get the good grades? Could not get good grades. But learn to ask questions. That's the key for doing the work with me or working on science. And then it's best for life. It's keep ask questions. Okay, good. No GPAs needed.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Jang. And next, Professor Malkin.
So it's very straightforward. There's an easy application that involves an essay in English or 2 essays in English. You'll get a staff interview also in English. If you're going for the longer term programs, you'll always get one academic interview. That's an interview with the faculty, and then potentially a second faculty interview. There are no letters of recommendation, GPA or GRE or SAT scores. As I mentioned, we take freshmen in the program, so they don't have many of these things from their high school experience. Just the essays, interviews, and an interest in working with the faculty.
All right, thank you so much. And next, Professor Du.
Oh, there's no GPA required. So for any students, I only require is that if you are really interested in doing some research, or if you are really interested in doing the research of this area, I'm glad to guide you. Okay, that's all.
Okay, thank you, Professor Du. And next, Professor Moreau.
Okay, so application wise, no letter of rec required, no GPA requirement. The application will flow through Haddee, so with Dan and her team. And then, as everybody says, we will have a kind of a requirement that everybody is interested in learning. And so I think that's the main requirement. We do have a little Python assessment that students will take just to create that level, to make sure that they meet that expectation. But other than that, come to learn, and you'll have, I think, a good experience in the program. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Professor Moreau. Okay, so that is all on eligibility. Next, we're going to dive a little bit more into more details for students and the environment of the programs. So the question is what is the mentorship environment like, and what is the student environment like? Is it more project and teamwork based, or is it more like independent? And yeah, we'll start with Professor Jane.
And I would say, because most people have no experience, and a team, two per team is good idea. And you can help each other to learn, stimulate each other, and acting as a sounding board. That's better than individual. Since this online course, you cannot find your classmate next to you. You have to find somebody online, form a pair, and to work together. Ideally, will be in the same time zone for people. It's kind of easier. In different time zones, it's possible, but those people have to make adjustment for that. Independent, both of them needs to be independent. And however, as a team, it's easier for the people I said 16 and older, 16, 17, 18, and total independence for this kind of research is a little more difficult. Yeah. Okay.
All right, thank you, Professor Jane. And next, Professor Malkin.
Yeah, thanks, Kate. So all students in the Haddee Education programming will have 2 mentors. One is a faculty, one-on-one time with a US or Canadian university faculty. Across this is all the same for all of the areas: biology, chemistry, physics, mathematics, engineering, they're all the same, as well as a graduate student or a TA that will also be meeting with the student. In some cases, there could be a larger team, but all students will have a US university faculty and a graduate student working with them on their research.
Okay, thank you, Professor Malkin. And next, Professor Du.
Well, so there's no difference of my teaching skills with other professors. So for all the students, if you get admission from the Handy, and if you are interested in my research area, we can meet. Because I'm living in the U.S. Central Time Zone, close to Chicago, so we can find some time meet regularly, so twice a week or so. That's same as the other professors.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Professor Du. And last but not least, Professor Morrow.
Okay, thanks, Kate. So our program is an on-site program, and so there's day for students who just come in during the day and those who are actually traveling and are going to stay in the dorms. So there's both. We support both. They are both independent and team-oriented projects. So independent will be there will be lots of lecture material covered and assignments associated with those. So students will work on those. And then the projects will be team-based. We'll have TAs. Those TAs will be most likely local students who are in either the EE or the electrical engineering or the CS program. So in the EECS program they call it EECS at Cal Berkeley, in that program. So you'll have opportunity to work with students who are actually in programs that you may be interested in. But yeah, so you'll have those opportunities as well as I'll be on site as well. So it'll be all day programs and we'll just be working through the whole day. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Professor Morrow. And just another note that we'll, for those who have a question or they're asking in the chat, feel free to do so. However, we will have another Q&A session towards the end after we ask the general questions. So yeah, and further on the student environment, I know that a lot of these programs as well as opportunities have great opportunities for students to publish their research as well as other amazing opportunities for their advancements. So could you go more into detail about, their opportunities in publishing as well as other gains they'll receive from the program? So we'll start with Professor Jang.
Well, to publish original research for a few months or a year, not in the laboratory, it's not so easy. And use a machine learning tool, as I said earlier, and AlphaFold 2 and 3 and so on, it is possible. So the most important thing is you don't know, the student do not know how to select a project yet. So I will hope then to select a project, then work with me and then two TAs. One of them is MIT student. Another one is applying for graduate school and also probably will be MIT student. So, and you have those two will closely work with you and you work with me. And in the end, in my previous experience, all people, as long as motivated, they will get a publication. So that's our goal. Yeah. So if they're not motivated, if I have to remind them every week, there's no point. So I don't want to remind them every week. If you want to learn, they should be coming to us rather than we are not a babysitter for them. Okay, we guide them, not a babysitting. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Professor Jang. And next, Professor Malkin.
Yeah, so there are three programs. Remember, the Introduction to Medical Case Studies, Introduction to Literature, and then the longer term programs, research assistant programs. Introduction to Medical Case Studies ends with a written document, which is the collected case study, or sometimes called a collective case study, and a grand rounds, which is a common format in the medical environment. So that's an oral presentation. Introduction to Literature ends with a literature review, which is a very common format in the sciences, as well as an abstract presentation in a sort of small conference that we set up for the high school students. Also, conference presentations is a very common format in the sciences. The research assistant programs, those are the longer programs, 9 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, even as long as 4 years. Those programs also have the opportunity to present now at national or international conferences, as well as the opportunity to publish in peer-reviewed, archived, impact factor rated publications. So each program has different outcomes depending on basically how long you want to stay with the program.
Okay, thank you, Professor Malkin. And next, Professor Du.
Okay, so this program is a kind of the research program. And the research program, remember, this is not like a teacher in the high school. The teacher has a question, the teacher has an answer. So research program is the professors only have the questions, but have no answers. We need to work together to explore the answers. So that is, I will remind everyone. So for example, you says, oh, I can't find the answer. I don't know the answer. You ask me or ask other professors. The other professors still need to take same amount of time to look for and find the answer for that. And the professors have more experience of looking for and found some questions and problems, but they have no answers. That is the caveat I will remind everybody. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Professor Du. And next, Professor Morrow.
Okay, thanks, Kate. So the as far as publishing goes, I don't have opportunities for the students to publish papers per se. I mean, our program is fairly short. So as I think it was Professor Zhang was saying, there's usually research opportunities are longer based. So in order to create a paper or publish, it's going to be more of a research and a longer term need to be a longer term opportunity. Our program really is a project based where students are going to learn tools that are in leading edge technologies. I think this is the kind of the crux of our program. If you want to learn about machine learning, detailed coding, really hone your skills on this. Understand the hardware architectures behind them. I think this is the program that's for you. These types of programs also help students with applications. Their projects, maybe they do science fair projects that are based on some of the concepts that they learn in our program that are good for their college applications. For sure, I've mentored lots of students on projects that will allow them to put these types of things on their applications. If students come up with in our capstone project, if students come up with really cool ideas that they want to patent, I'm a registered patent agent and I can help them prosecute a patent with the U.S. Trademark and Patent Office if they want to file that. And that's always another good thing that's good for college apps. So we provide those opportunities for the students. But as far as a research opportunity, there's not enough time, I think, in our program that you're going to get a published paper out of it. I think it's just trying to be realistic. There's not going to be enough time to have a published paper. But if you have a good idea and you have a patent that you want to file, sure, we could do that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Morrow. And before we dive into the Q&A session, we have one more general question, which is, are there any follow-up opportunities such as alumni networking or internships that come after participating in these programs or research opportunities? So we'll start with Professor Jang.
MIT alumni is global, everywhere. So I don't know everybody, and then Henkai is one of them. And so that's no whatever alumni. But however, I've been working with a few students before. I can connect you with those students I've been working with. So that's the only thing I can offer now. I cannot offer you not MIT alumni, the students, postdocs, and not become professors. It's not their business to help high school students when they're doing full-time research. Anyway, I can introduce some students who worked with me on the similar program and informally, and to them. Okay.
All right, thank you, Professor Jane. And next, Professor Malkin.
Absolutely. So all of our faculty and the graduate students are available for recommendation letters as follow-up, as well as career advice, mostly from the graduate students, but also from the faculty, especially if you're interested in applying to the university where the faculty is teaching. Also, we have a rich alumni network now of many students all across the country, US and Canada, who are available to talk about the universities that they're at and what it was like and their experiences there, and can also form a network when you arrive. Importantly, if you arrive and want to find a lab job, the lab job that you've had with the Haddee Education program can really help you both to find those jobs through basic networking, but also to win those jobs competing with other students with the work that you've done, the literature review or the publication or the collected case study.
All right, thank you, Professor Malkin. And next, Professor Du.
Well, I think the students get involved in this research program a few purposes. One is trying to learn something. Second is try to get some good background in their resume writing. Okay, I have some papers writing. And also, since you ever work with some professors and you know each other very well, so that reason the professor can write you a very good reference letter when you apply for the colleges. That is what I'm thinking about what the students benefit to be get involved in this program. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Professor Du. And last but not least, Professor Mauro.
Okay, thanks, Kate. Yes, as with the others, recommendation letters for sure. Those are available. I specifically can connect students with UCSD professors, even though we're doing this camp at Cal Berkeley. My affiliation with the UCSD. I can connect students with professors that may be more interested in doing longer term research that could result in publications if the students are interested in that. And then I have, for students who are interested in internships, I have a side company that I work with that's that I do research type projects with that for students who are interested, especially in hardware applications of machine learning algorithms. I do some work in that area too. So lots of opportunities for students, just depending upon what they are interested in when they take the program. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And now, since we have about 10 minutes left, we will start the Q&A session. So during this session, please feel free to unmute and ask the professors about like any questions you might have. So yeah. Okay, or you can private message me the questions and I'll read them out loud.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, everybody. I send a lot of links to in the group chat. Pretty much every speaker's program is all there. So just making sure you read all the chat. Yeah. There's a question, Kate, for Professor Du.
Yeah, so for the question for Professor Du, do students get to write papers in Professor Du's program?
Well, this research area is up to the students. If you like, I will guide you how to write a paper. And because after we work for some time, probably very likely we have some data available, and then the last step is just to write a paper for that. And a moment ago, Professor John says writing a paper is difficult. If we really interested in that and put a lot of time on that, I don't think it's so difficult as Professor John said. So if you are really involved in that, you can write a paper. So it's based on the Handy's requirements. We can write a paper. So, but it's not needed, right? Dan Dan.
Sorry, can you please repeat the question?
Oh yes, some audience, some students ask, do we have to write a paper? Is it requirements or not?
Will depend on the students, right? Because there's our contribution, 1 hour live session by Professor Du, at least 7 to 8 hours of assignment and homework. So if students can really contribute, yes, we can help them. But if students cannot meet that time contribution, probably not, right, Professor Du?
Yes.
Yeah, it takes some
It's
time.
up to the students. It's up to the students.
Mhm.
Okay, all right. And another question is, yeah, so basically Professor Malraux's program is at Berkeley during the summer, and for Professor Malraux, what is the time of the program?
So we are planning on it in the July timeframe. So then I think it was July 19th or so. So last 2 weeks of July into the beginning of August. So 2 week program, all day, 2 weeks.
All day residential program will host 20 students only, okay? Will be in the Berkeley dorm, and then commuters will come in, starts 9:30, finish at 5. Yeah, so we will host the Bay Area students commuter, parents will drive them over here. Total 40 students. We'll open up the application next week and we'll close it when they're booked.
Okay, and another question is specifically for Professor Jang. Since the program is completely online, she was wondering how scientific data is gathered. Is it through research in a lab, or is it completely through online?
It's complete online. And what I do, for example, we published a paper with Emily, and she eventually got into MIT and Harvard and Princeton. And it's, as I said, is protein design. Protein design is a new field. The person who designed protein for protein design won the Nobel Prize, Professor David Baker from University of Washington. So protein design, currently, the first step is use computer to design protein. So what we do is assign some proteins to the student. The student use my QTY code, which is a computer website, you can do it. And then use AlphaFold 3, now the latest program, and convert them into water-soluble form, compare this native proteins and the QTY water-soluble form. And everything, all the tools is online, everything, and free. And 5 years ago, you have to spend how many $1,000 to do this system. Now Google provide all this. I saw somebody a Colab, and for free. So all the tools are for free, and so that's how data gathered. Quickly use a few programs. We can send the papers to whoever interested in this, and then look over all the programs. So no laboratory gathering. It's impossible to gather laboratory experiment in a few months or in a year to publish a paper, no chance. So everything done computer through the AI systems. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Jang. And this is another general question from the chat. What is the cost for doing research with the professors? So we'll start with Professor Jang.
Yeah. So all the cost we will send to, it's very complicated. We'll send to all parents only, because parents the guardian, and so long as you fill out the inquiry form, you will receive the cost for all programs, because it's very complicated. We have summer, residential, non-residential, international, US. We have short research program with Dr. Malcolm, and the faculty one-on-one, 8-week, 16-week, and the professor. So it's very, very complicated. So we'll send out everything to the parents only. So I keep sending the inquiry form. It's very short, just parents' email and name, and we'll send it out.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Ms. Dandan.
Yeah.
And here's another general question from the chat is specifically for specifically for Professor Mauro. Basically, the situation is that this person is an incoming sophomore who is younger than 16 years old. Will she still be eligible if she already learned Python and Java and gained some
Yes.
knowledge? Okay.
Yes. Yes. Apply. I think she'll be fine.
Okay. All right, thank you, Professor Mauro. And another question for Professor Mauro is a UC Berkeley program sponsored by UC Berkeley, and what are some program outcomes?
So this is not officially sanctioned by UC Berkeley, right, Dan? I mean, I think Dan can
Yeah, I can
comment on that.
answer. Yeah, a lot of summer programs on college campus. It's not a college program, but they're happening on the college programs. Like everybody, probably the kids already gone through the ID camp, right? It's very famous at UCSD and all kinds of college camp. It's by a third-party organization called ID Camp. Same for our Haddee AI summer program. It's gonna be hosted on UC Berkeley property. Okay, so the kids gonna stay in UC Berkeley dorm using UC Berkeley conference room and eat at one of the best UC Berkeley dining room, even though UC Berkeley dining room is not as good as UCLA, okay? But still one of the best. All the meals are covered for the residential programs. Lunch is covered for the commuters. So that's pretty much about the kind of the setting of UC Berkeley. And Ms. Maro will teach. If we do have 40 students, we'll have TAs from UC Berkeley. That's my priority, okay? It's because I'm hosting all the UC Berkeley parents groups, and I already told the parents and the students that we would like to hire some TAs down the road. And I myself be one of the chaperones at night. And so for residential program at night, we'll not only doing homework, we're going to have some event programs. Talking about college counseling, how to prepare. On the weekends, we'll take them to San Francisco. Some kids, they're all flying all over from the world. So we'll go visit Stanford. So there will be some interesting programs. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Ms. Dandan. And another general question, specifically for Professor Malkin, it says, could you briefly introduce the medical study opportunity in this program?
Absolutely. So there's two opportunities for students interested in the medical field. One is our Introduction to Medical Case Studies. That is an 8-week program, mostly offered in the summer, but we actually have starting dates every 2 weeks. And it is focused on medical case studies, one of the most fundamental study tools used in the study of medicine. So this is an introduction. So learn about how to find medical case studies, how to read them, how to understand them, summarize them, and present them in the grand rounds format. The other opportunity is the longer term or RA programming, and that runs from around 9 months or a year all the way up to even 4 years, working with a faculty member in the health sciences. So that includes, of course, medical, but also people interested in nursing, forensics, pharmacology, etc. And those are one-on-one mentorship opportunities with faculty in those areas, which is a long-term opportunity potentially to publish.
Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Professor Malkin. And since it's already way past 2 minutes past 6:15 now, we will end the meeting here. And before you leave, if you enjoyed or you found this meeting helpful, please fill out this form that I just sent into the chat. And yeah, feel free to check out Haddee Education, and the forms and all the information are all linked in the chat. And yeah, I'll hand it back to Ms. Dandan.
Thank you, Kate, for your lovely hosting. And thank you, Mr. Morrow, Dr. Malkin, Professor Du, Professor Zhang, thank you for your time on Sunday night. Really appreciate it. So we are sending the inquiry form. Please fill out the inquiry form, the parent only. And we send you all the information. And if you enjoy the session, please give us a good Google review. Really appreciate it. So thank you all. And yeah.
Thank you. Good night,
Thank you,
everybody.
John. Thank you. Good night.
Thank
Okay.
you, professors.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.